So here's what we know. Democrats supported a Nazi in Maine. They supported a communist in Maine. They supported an anti-capitalist in Maine. They supported a known sexual abuser in Maine. They supported a guy who, if someone broke into his house, he would want to rape them, but, not in a gay way. And they supported somebody who wanted to fondle himself in a porta potty. 154,084 Democrats in Maine supported this guy, along with Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren, Representative Ro Khanna and Senator Ruben Gallego, and all the other Democrats, and all those people at the Bulwark and Pod Saves America, all those righteous dudes who wanted to tell us that Democrats had to win the Senate, and we had to accept the fact that a Nazi was an acceptable candidate. And now they're all rescinding their endorsements. Well, rescind away, kitten. You do what you got to do, boo-boo. Rescinding the endorsement doesn't change what you did. You supported a Nazi. You supported a communist. You supported a known abuser. And I don't think we should let you forget it for a second. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. We had gone over this yesterday because we had heard the rumor. We had heard tale that this was something was coming, and you might see Graham Platner drop out of the race. I want to be clear. As of right now, and double check me, producer Landon, double check where we are on this. He has not dropped out of the race. He has quasi suspended his campaign. He's going to take a moment and take a breath and really take a look at where he is and what's going on. Okay, you can do that. I guess if you feel like that's the thing you need to do, you just go knock yourself out with that and you go do that thing. However, there are going to be those of us who notice that maybe, just maybe, that sounds like a crazy person talking. The allegation, as was written in the pages of Politico, and all the respect to Politico for actually writing the story. The story is that this 41-year-old named Jenny Rassicot detailed the allegations, including her dating of Graham Platner, an on-again, off-again relationship for more than 2 years. And then one night, he walked into her house uninvited, deeply drunk, forced himself on her. Quote, "I remember him grabbing my pelvis and being really forceful of me. I remember the specific moment where I thought to myself, like, this is no longer my choice." In any other context and in any other situation with any other conversation, you would call that rape. I knew him, didn't know him, doesn't matter. Walked in, forced himself on me, would not take no for an answer, did not stop. Is what it is. Allegations had already been made. Some of those allegations by a woman named Lindsay Fifield. Lindsay Fifield and I are not friends, but I know Lindsay Fifield. When this whole thing broke, I wrote her a quick note. You've got friends. This is all madness. I'm sorry you're being treated like this. And it was regarding the New York Times treatment. Because the New York Times took her story and took the stories of some others. But they focused on Lindsay Fifield. Lindsay Fifield's a Republican. So what did they focus on? She's a Republican. This is clearly much more about trying to hurt Graham Platner than it is about her being sexually abused. That's what they did. That's what the New York Times did to her. The New York Times also knew about Jenny Rassicot. And they downplayed her story, if not eliminating her story. They downplayed the story because the New York Times made a decision. And the New York Times said, our job is to move our candidates. Our job is to get Susan Collins out of power. Our job is to ensure that a Democrat wins this seat. This is what we do at the New York Times. Journalism comes second. In my hometown, there is, all right, I'm just in the Indianapolis area, we'll say. And there is a newspaper called the Indy Star, which is Gannett. And when President Trump got shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, they ran a headline about how Donald Trump got startled by a noise. And I put out on social media that everybody who works at the Indy Star is a monster. Now, that's a little extreme because not everybody who works at the Indy Star is a monster, just the vast majority of them. By the way, still holds true to today. And there was someone, I can't remember her name, Allison something or other, yelling. She didn't work there anymore, yelling at me, screaming at me on social media, and then blocked me. I forget your name, but I was right and you were wrong. And everybody who works at the New York Times is a freaking monster. Of course, that's not true of everybody. Of course, there's somebody who's a lovely person. There's a reporter who actually does work. But this got allowed, and there wasn't mass I quit moments going on. Everybody who works at the New York Times is a monster, and anybody who still supports the New York Times supports monsters. And to whoever that woman was, I can't remember your name. I was right. You were wrong. I'm still right. You're still wrong. You don't have to be wrong, and I wish I wasn't right. They purposefully pushed down a story. This is a catch and kill conversation where you get the story and then you prevent the story from getting out there to protect a Nazi sexual abuser who likes to pleasure himself in porta potties. Or at least he likes to tell a story because he thinks that'll make himself seem cool. That's what the New York Times did. That's why I'm amazed that Politico put the story out. Now, you can say to me, Tony, we can get all conspiratorial if you like. We can get all conspiratorial. And they put the story out now. Why? They put the story out now because if Graham Platner drops out of this race before July 13th, Democrats can appoint somebody to be the nominee before July 27th. That's everything you could think of the Democrats doing. They knew everything that was wrong with Eric Swalwell. Every bit of being a creep, every bit of being an abuser, every bit of being rude, every bit of being this, that, and the other, and your mother. And they held it, and they held it, and they held it, and they held it, and they held it. And then they said, hey, he's causing a problem for Democrats in this gubernatorial race in California. We got to get rid of him. And then it all unleashed, and he was gone in a week. Is it possible that this was all wait for the moment, wait for the moment, wait for the moment, wait for the moment? It is absolutely possible. As a matter of fact, one of the things that Jenny Rassicott says that struck me as so bothersome, I don't know what to do with it. One of the reasons I didn't come forward sooner was, this is her quote, the huge moral conflict that I had between supporting his politics, but not supporting him as a person. Let me read that again. One of the reasons I didn't come forward sooner was the huge moral conflict that I had between supporting his politics, but not supporting him as a person. I will never understand what it is like to be so broken, to be this kind of progressive, where you could actually say he raped me, but he'd be good for the country. I don't know what to do with that at all. I don't know how to comprehend it. I don't know how to discuss it. I don't know how to rationalize it. I can't connect with it anyway. I always forget his name, and you guys remind me. What's the name of the dude It wasn't Elliot Spitzer. It was the other guy. He was the attorney general, Schneiderman, Eric Schneiderman. And there were all these, by the way, Elliot Spitzer went out for sexual impropriety, but Schneiderman, there were these women who said he did this, he did that, he did the other, and other women who said to him, hey, you got to stay quiet. We really need him to win. I'll never, ever understand it. I can't connect with it at all. If someone can explain it, sure. Go right ahead. If I were you, I would share that with your daughters and be like, don't ever think someone's politics are so important that if they rape you, you still have to support them. That's insane. Please teach your daughters that that's insane. Jenny Rascott said that she continued to talk because she read the New York Times interview and realized they brushed over her and they focused on Lindsay Fifield and said she was just politically motivated. I wonder whether or not Lindsay Fifield has a case against the New York Times, but understand that the New York Times did this purposefully. I'm saying this with clarity. The New York Times, in my view, did this purposefully. They manipulated the story about Lindsay Fifield purposefully to protect Graham Platner. And now you have all of these people coming out and rescinding their endorsements on this Nazi Democrat. They can rescind all they want. They are who they are. Rashida Tlaib, the bigoted representative of Michigan, now rescinding her endorsement. You were okay with him when he was a Nazi because that way you guys had a lot in common. I said what I said. You can rescind the endorsement all you want, Representative Tlaib. We see you. We see you, Ro Khanna. We see you, Ruben Gallego. We see you. And we know what you are. Beyond power hungry. Chuck Schumer, we see you. And so should your whole damn synagogue. You know, Trump said the other day, I don't understand how Jews vote for liberals. He said that before. He's still right. And those Jews are still fakakta crazy. The only answer I can give you is they're schmucks and they don't spend enough time listening to my show. If they did, they would stop being schmucks. The New York Times absolutely did this on purpose. Unquestionably true. They can rescind all they want, but it doesn't change who they are. The question now is, what does Graham Platner do? I have an idea, and I want to state for the record that I don't like Graham Platner at all. I've been very clear about referring to him as a Nazi since day one. I apologize for nothing. Graham Platner should stay in this race. He should not drop out. Graham Platner should stay in this race, and Democrats should lose by 100 percentage points. Let's find out who is willing to really vote for the Nazi sexual abuser. I want Democrats to have to own this. Every last bit of it, they should have to own and suffer through. Because they are desperate to replace him, and then they're going to forget he ever existed. They're going to memory hole him like they're a George Orwell book. They are going to make him disappear. When you bring him up, they're going to say, why are you bringing up yesterday's news? And whoever the new candidate is, who they're going to plop in there like their name is Kamala Harris, hell, it could be Kamala Harris for all I know. They're going to say this is the candidate we've always wanted, and this is the greatest candidate and the best candidate. And if you don't vote for her, well, you're a racist bigot, because they're going to cover all the boxes with whomever they pick in Maine. No, it won't be Janet Mills. They absolutely won't go for Janet Mills, the current governor, I believe. No, Graham Platner, you need to stay in this race. You need to stay in this race, and Democrats need to suffer for what they've done. Hold on, I've got the number right here. 154,084 Democrats in Maine who voted for you, they have to suffer. Every Democrat who endorsed you, their endorsement has to be shared with America every single day. As a matter of fact, producer Landon, I want you to find every Democrat who endorsed Graham Platner, and we're going to play their endorsements on this show every day between now and Election Day. I don't care who they pick as the damn nominee. Every day we're going to be reminded of the Democrats who supported this Nazi, this sexual abuser, this fantasizer of rape, Graham Platner. Every single day. I want them to have to deal with it. And most importantly, Graham, Nazi Graham, these people said that you were their friends, right? You were their friend. They said they cared about you. They said, wait a second. Elizabeth Warren said of Graham Platner, maybe one of the kindest, nicest things you've ever heard in your life. My God, I swear to you, it was almost sexual.
Here, because Washington needs fighters, and Graham Platner is the fighter we need. You bet. I said to myself, that's my kind of man.
Oh, damn. By the way, also, producer Landon, we're playing that every day. We're playing Elizabeth Warren saying that so everybody can spend a little bit of time throwing up in their own mouth. They all said you were their kind of man, and now they're abandoning you, Graham. So my advice is make them suffer. Stay in the race. Campaign. Or don't. But Democrats need to learn. You don't get to vote for Nazis. You don't get to vote for communists. And then walk away when their sexual abuse that you already knew about gets more known about. Enjoy losing. And we got to make sure they lose. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back. Tony Katz Today. A lot of comments. I want to get to them. First things first. I have no idea who this is, and I do not recall ever having a coworker named Shay. So I don't think I was going through it at the time. I'm not quite sure you're real, but hello, Shay. I don't think we ever worked together. I could very well be wrong. I don't remember many things. And I especially don't remember you used to be so quiet back in the day. Said no one ever. Said no one ever. Now, let me get to some of these right here. Larry, Larry has been ride or die since day two. The day two of the entire start of my career. Larry Hedman, the great. Yes. So the tweets I saw yesterday was that author Stephen King is still supporting him. Yeah. That's as broken as it can be. So that's where we are there. Let me see. All right, don't rush me on the turkey thing because I'm going to get to it. I really wanted to share the whole presser with Erdogan that Trump had, but the translator voices are in there, and so it's hard to hear. It's hard to focus on. But I listened, and I'm not happy at all. And I don't know what the president is doing. And the idea that we are going to let Turkey get the F-35 strike fighter, it's good for business. It's bad for the geopolitics, and I'll get into that. So we will discuss just that. You're discussing expansionist power. Let's get back to the radio show, and we'll get into it. You ever have one of those moments where somebody brings something up and then you all of a sudden see it everywhere? You see it everywhere. You see it all the time. Tony Katz today. My oldest says to me, this is on Sunday. We're having dinner. We had Chinese because nothing says after Independence Day festivities like Chinese food. And I don't know what it is about Chinese food. I adore it. And then I adore it a half an hour later. And he says to me, can I ask a dumb question? I'm like, sure. He goes, can I ask a political question? Now, it's weird. It's got me as a dad, but not every day is politics. Like my politics are my politics, and then my family is my family, and it's not intensity all day. That's just no way to live. Like, shoot. Where is Mitch McConnell, the senator from Kentucky, the former Senate Majority Leader? I'm like, that's a great question because I knew he had been ill. Well, he's been in a hospital now for 3 weeks. And there is report after report after report that he is not well. There have been reports in outlets, rumors that he is brain dead. I cannot confirm nor deny. My point to you is he brought that up Sunday. We're having dinner, like a late lunch, early dinner. And then it's all I saw on Monday. Everywhere was this story. I'm like, did we just will this into existence? Do we have that kind of power? Because if so, there are a couple other things I want to start talking about. And then I want to check bank accounts. I don't know what the story is, but none of this seems good. And by the way, if the senator should pass, there's a special election. The Democrat governor does not get to appoint. This is Tony Katz today. Very, very odd. I eat Chinese food, turns out at both. I eat Chinese food on the 5th and on the 25th, any day that has a 5 in it. The 5th, the 15th, and the 25th, I get to have Chinese food. That's 3 times a month. Now, it's actually more. That's more than, I should. Once a month would be fine. Once a month, I can, yeah. You know what? As a matter of fact, that's the way it goes now. That's the way it's happening. I officially do Chinese food once a month. Let me see if I've got everything I need here from the Trump presser. Yeah, if you can find, producer Landon, the full-on thing without the translator voices, I'll take that. Yeah, Trump's presser with Erdogan. When I tell you, I texted a couple people I know. I'm like, somebody explain to me what's happening here. And the response was, F if I know. There's a massive, massive geopolitical play here. Serious issue, dangerous issue, and I think we're making a mistake. Let's see, do I have it all? Doot, doot, doot. Hold on a second. I'm missing one. Got it. Good stuff. Yeah, so I had heard that too, but I don't know if that was rumor or that was fact. Is that a reportable thing that Elaine Cho went to let's see. Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. Interesting. Interesting indeed. And worthy of discussion. Since I have no love for or respect for the communist Chinese government, and then I have The View, where Sonny Hostin is still going to support Graham Platner and doesn't want to hear from the Epstein Protector Party. Nobody's protecting Epstein here. These people, one of the things that is true, they simply can't accept that what they've done is an obscenity. Well, look what you did. Okay. So you excuse nominating an actual Nazi tattoo, because you've called Donald Trump a Nazi so many times you think he is one? That's their argument. It's a weird argument. But let's talk Turkey. That's coming up next, guys. Glad you're here. The radio show is back.
And I say that's fine, but you would think that they'd be very willing to do something to help us. And they really weren't. In the case of the United Kingdom, the prime minister, I guess he's no longer there, maybe because of this. It was a very unpopular thing he did. He said, no, we'll help after the war is over. I said, I don't need that kind of help. We didn't need any help at all. And in a way, I was testing people. I was testing to see whether or not they'd be there, because I've long said that we help them, but I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. And Italy turned us down, and Germany turned us down, and France turned us down. And it's okay. But, you know, why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars and they're not there for us? We've always been there for them.
That is President Trump speaking next to Turkish President Erdogan about NATO. Where were you for us in this war? I've made my point rather clear on this, and I do think it is accurate. Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. The phone number, 833-GOT-TONY. Feel free, call in. 833-468-8669, 833-GOT-TONY. That is the number. That's how you get to be a part of the show. You engaged an attack on Iran with Israel. You didn't ask anybody else to join you, and they didn't want to be Johnny-come-latelys, and they didn't want to be seen as people who were doing your bidding. I think that for the president, we should be clear. Don't get angry with people for recognizing their own politics, which might not be connected to yours. They don't want to be seen as weak to their own people. And Keir Starmer isn't resigning as prime minister because of this. Keir Starmer's resigning for 9 billion reasons, and not being there and engaged with Iran would be maybe, if there were 100 reasons on the list, I think it'd be reason 207. Not saying it isn't on a list somewhere, but it sure as bloody heck ain't the top of the list. The NATO conversation, right? That's why President Trump is in Turkey. He's there for the NATO summit. And if nations are indeed working their way to 5% of GDP for their own defense, that alone is enough of a legacy for President Trump. Forcing NATO to fight on their own behalf. Everybody who said, it was a very small group of people. It was President Trump. It was me. Were you that? We'll say you were there. And that's it. Here's Germany buying natural gas from Russia. And it was Donald Trump who said, hey, are you stupid? They're the people who want to hurt you. We're the people you call to keep them from hurting you. We're spending all of this money to protect you, and you're going to buy their natural gas? You're going to stop your nuclear programs and buy their natural gas? Can I ask again? I don't know how to say it in the German, basically because, we won, so we don't speak German around here. Are you stupid? You can't be doing this. Forget Nord Stream and Nord Stream 2 and all the rest. Are you nuts? And President Trump was right. Of course he was right. He was 1,000% right. Europe being involved in its own protection is a good thing. Turkey, in being involved in its own protection, I would never question whether or not the Turks can do such a thing. But should we be involved in the protection of the Turks? That's a whole different conversation. When Turkey joined NATO, if we take a look at the kind of nation Turkey had been, we'll say had been, or has been, it's still in the past. It was a westward-looking nation. They saw themselves as Western. They saw themselves as more European. They saw themselves as cultured. They saw themselves as secular, even though they had these religious spots and capabilities and capacities. But as a matter of government view and philosophical view, Western. Then comes Erdogan. And they start thinking of themselves as Eastward looking, which means more connected towards Islam, more connected and supportive of things that are problematic. And that's a real problem when they have access to U.S. hardware because of the NATO connection. And this brings us to the F-35 strike fighter. Turkey was involved in the building of the F-35. The Turks were a pretty large part of this. And then, while they're helping to build the F-35, they purchase the S-400. Now, the S-400 is a Russian missile defense system, which the Russians build as the F-35 destroyer, right? It'll take out the F-35, no problem. You're building the F-35 and you're buying their thing. Sorry, you're out. You're no longer in a part of building the F-35. You can't even have F-35s, and then we're going to engage a couple of sanctions. Those sanctions have been on since then. I favor the sanctions because I don't accept the idea that Turkey has done, let's see, how do I say this? Anything to make us think they have changed their point of view. The Turkish point of view under Erdogan is Turkey first. Now, they're allowed to be Turkey first, but that is contrary to what we need as America first. So why in the world would President Trump, when being asked about whether or not he would sell them the F-35 strike fighter?
Are you going to sell F-35s to Turkey, and what about the legal restrictions?
Well, it's a decision we're going to make. We have a very good relationship. I would think that many people, I can tell you, many people, including the people sitting right here, thinks, why wouldn't we do that? We have a better relationship with Turkey, and Turkey's been in many ways much more loyal than other countries that we think would be loyal. So, yeah, it's something certainly we would consider. It's a great plane. It's the best, currently the best plane by far. And it's certainly something we will consider, yeah.
He said that they would drop the sanctions. I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. I have no idea what he's thinking at all or in any way. Tell me what Turkey has done that we would therefore describe them as more loyal. First of all, more loyal than whom? The British? Well, way to have a low bar. But how? Just asking, how? I don't know what he's doing here. I do not know what he is possibly thinking here. By the way, it wasn't just the S-400 missile defense system. They purchased from Russia the F-110 engine. The Turks wanting to build their own fighter plane, which is referred to as the Khan. They are K-A-A-N. I don't say they can't build fighter planes, but you're buying Russian engines to do so. That's a problem. Why in the world would we sell this nation F-35s? Because it's good for Lockheed Martin? They're the ones who make the F-35. With all due respect, I don't give a damn about Lockheed Martin. I'm not even sure if I own the stock in some fund. Don't care. They can sell to other countries. We're selling to Turkey to help get some planes out. Let's discuss what we're saying, what this means, how this works in a geopolitical way. The removal of the Iranian regime, which hasn't happened yet, when also needs to happen. Don't ask me what the hell is happening. I can't tell you. No one knows. We're having good conversations. You're having no conversation. The Iranians are shooting at tankers going through the strait in the Gulf of Oman. Why? Because, well, you're not using the approved route. And so now we're firing at Iranian tankers. This memorandum of understanding needs to get ripped up, set on fire, the ashes scattered to the four corners like Thanos getting rid of the Infinity Stones. And then we need to finish the job and end the regime. But everybody knows that the Iranians are the issue in the area. And if you give them a nuclear weapon, well, you're just giving them more ability to be more of a problem. You got to end the regime. These people have to be destroyed. What does that leave? That leaves Saudi Arabia and Iran fighting for hegemonic power. Who's in charge of the region? Israel can talk about being in charge of the region all they want. They ain't. And they wouldn't be. They don't have the people. You can't. It's Saudi Arabia or it's Turkey. Saudi Arabia has a deal, and they are getting M1 Abrams tanks and F-35 strike fighters. Now, those F-35s, as per reports, don't have all the capacity of the Israeli F-35s. But It not only creates for us this basically land aircraft carrier that if we needed to pick up planes and utilize them in any type of war effort or aggressive effort, we could borrow them from Saudi Arabia. It gives Saudi Arabia an advantage in what? Hegemonic power. You know who would like to equalize that advantage? Turkey. Can I ask the President of the United States why he would want them to be able to do that? Why would you create an equalization? I didn't say I like Saudi Arabia. We didn't handle Saudi Arabia the way we should have post September 11th. And the way to handle Saudi Arabia was you got to pick 32 members of the royal family. We don't care which 32 you pick. They're guilty. They did this after September 11th, and you're going to have to televise that one. Y'all know what I mean, right? That's how that has to get handled. Someone's got to go to jail. Something worse has to happen to them. If you can't do that, we're going to pick targets in Saudi Arabia. And you're still going to sell us the oil, or we'll damn well take it. But we didn't do it. You can't unring that bell. And we need Saudi Arabia because they've been more rational to work with and deal with. But Turkey is the NATO nation, and maybe they're going to be more rational. Turkey has been more willing to be sympathetic to the regime. As far as I see it, President Trump is setting up a hegemonic fight. He's setting up a fight. I don't know what he's doing with this, but trusting in the Turks right now and saying they've been loyal, yeah, that can't be swallowed. This is Tony Katz today. Welcome back, everybody. Good to be with you, Tony Katz. An absolute pleasure. What's going down? What do we know? What's the good word? I'm just checking on a couple things, seeing what's what. Oh. What in the heck is this? Hold on. Hold on one second. Stay with me. Why will that not deliver? What in the world is going on? Sorry, guys. Very weird. Very weird. Okay. Sorry. That took more time than I thought it would. Just checking the So what I would say, John, and I appreciate the note, I don't know if they're all turning their back to USA defense contractors. It's a hard thing for a nation to do considering we make better stuff. And we do. So one of the reasons I see you bring this up is why I asked is this just so Lockheed Martin can get a deal and sell some planes? That to me is not enough of a reason. So there's this weird story that the cartels are smuggling gasoline into Mexico. I'll say that again for the people in the cheap seats. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Cartels, according to the Washington Times, are smuggling gasoline from Texas into Mexico and making billions. I don't understand how this works. So it used to be that the cartels smuggled oil into the U.S. Now they're smuggling fuel into Mexico and ducking the taxes. Hold on. Where are they getting the fuel from? A refinery? Are they stealing from a refinery? What is this, the Lufthansa heist? How do you steal from a refinery and how do you do it more than once? According to the Washington Times, fuel smuggling is now the cartel's second largest source of income behind drugs, and it has now surpassed migrant smuggling. See, it went from drug smuggling to the cartels realizing they could just smuggle human beings because of Biden's America, and they can make a lot of money that way. And even at times where they told people, you're coming and you're going to have to pay this fee and give us this money, we're just going to kidnap you and send you across the border. Crazy, crazy things. Now it's fuel. We've got sanctions on people who might be working to help with this. Are you saying that the cartels have people embedded here who are helping them move it out? Well, we know this is true, right? The cartels have people on the inside in the U.S. Oh, undoubtedly true. Oh, we need to root these people out and throw them out immediately. Eventually, what you're going to need to do is ask yourself, how much are you willing to fight the cartels? Because you're going to have to fight hard. This is Tony Katz today. Everybody understands what I'm saying, right? It's also the cartels. Pick one, and then you got to fight like you mean it. Because they will. Can't have any concern for anything. Leave the carcasses in the road as a warning to the others. I'd rather have no issue with the cartels, but the cartels want an issue with us, well, then we'll have an issue. That's the way it has to be. So here's where we are at. I do not believe we have the president speaking, or is anything else coming from Turkey right now? There is this weird building evacuation going on in New York. This high-rise building might collapse. I mean, it's the craziest thing ever. Near Grand Central. This was once the corporate headquarters for Pfizer. And it was sagging. So there's that. But here's the deal, right? The show is in commercial break, so we are in commercial break. So take a moment, take a breath, stretch your legs, hang loose, smoke them if you got them, and we will be back in a few. All right? Keep it here. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. That's the name of the show. I appreciate you being here. I'll get a little bit into this building and what in the bloody heck is happening. It's very weird. Like this is the kind of stuff that I assume if you live in a high rise, keeps you awake at night. Things that freak you out. There we go. There we go. And there we go. Just getting some things together. There we go. And then you've got the Toyota story. I will get to that as well. Your comments, you can call in 833-GOT-TONY, 833-468-8669. You can't find a JC Newman America? Well, the boxes are limited edition, the 250, so they could be sold out. They could be sold out. What do you mean you sent me some gold? I don't know what to do with that information. What do you mean you sent me some gold? Freddie says he sent me some gold, producer Landon. Yeah, but I don't, gold what? You're saying gold coins, but he didn't say gold coins. He didn't say gold bars. So there is this building in New York, and you're like, Tony, why are you talking about buildings in New York? Because it might collapse. Building's been evacuated. Crazy story going on. This all broke midday. Lord only knows what's going to happen next. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you guys. 833-468-8669, 833. Got Tony live streaming on YouTube, on Twitter, on Rumble, and on X. Just go for Tony Katz, look for Tony Katz, and get in there. And don't forget to subscribe in all the places. Be a part of the chat room. Appreciate it quite a lot. So the New York Fire Department is called because there is a 38-story high-rise building, which used to be the global headquarters for Pfizer. And now they're converting it into an apartment complex. That's the plan. They're going to turn this into residential units, and they've been working on it. Well, I don't know who noticed. I'm not even quite sure how you noticed that two of the floors started buckling. The columns between the 21st and the 22nd floor, they didn't look right. They have evacuated 6 buildings in the area. They have shut down streets, just stuff near Grand Central. No, there's never any activity near Grand Central. You don't have to have been to New York a day in your life. You know where Grand Central is. It was across from Grand Central. That one of the greatest cigar lounges that ever existed. It was the Nat Sherman Townhouse. To which I can say I have smoked a cigar in the Nat Sherman Townhouse. It was a spectacular spot to buy cigars. It was a spectacular spot to talk about cigars, and to have been able to spend any time in the basement and smoke a cigar. Unbelievable. Now, oddly, not my favorite spot to smoke a cigar in Manhattan, which you're saying to me, they still allow that. Last time I was there, walked the street smoking a cigar. No one bothered me. I was near Macy's, so it's 34th and something. It's 34th. And I was sitting on, they have these big rocks that are out there. It's meant to stop traffic, and they've got these sitting areas, and they're nice enough. And the only thing that ever happened was people coming up to me and saying, man, smells great. Like, didn't have an issue. It was an amazing thing. I wouldn't go back right now in Mamdani's, New York. But it was very special. Also, very busy. So they've got these buildings evacuated. I don't know what you do in this scenario. Can you shore it up, or do you work some quick kind of demo? And what else is still in the building? It's going to be very interesting to follow how that works. Something to keep an eye on. Not the only story going on out there in the world. One of the other stories, if I can get to my right story, is the story of Toyota coming to Texas. The story of Toyota coming to Texas, President Trump wants you to believe, is a tariff move. So the president is in Turkey, as we've discussed, and I don't know what he's trying to get accomplished in this, creating a deal with Turkey that possibly allow them to buy the F-35 strike fighter. President Trump puts out, Toyota is moving from Mexico to the United States. A really big deal. Tariffs at work. Now, I understand where he wants to give himself credit, but I think he needs to change where the credit actually goes. And it still goes to him, but it also goes to Sinai Takaichi, the prime minister. So you have in Japan a serious concern about China's growth, China's aggressive posture, specifically regarding Taiwan. Sinai Takaichi, the prime minister, has formed an immediate bond with President Trump. There's been immediate movement on that. Back here in the United States, President Trump has already said that the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, the USMCA, is going by the wayside. This was his big project in term one, and now it's over. What has he learned? Well, he's learned for himself that utilization of tariffs, so in this part he is accurate, utilization of tariffs has allowed him to have a stronger hand in all things. And therefore, why in the world should he have to deal with Mexico and Canada jointly when he can deal with them independently and probably get better deals from each place with the tariff move? Who needs this? Who needs this at all? So he likes the idea of working independently, but think of it from Japan's point of view. Japan needs to further its relationship with the United States to ensure it has the U.S. as an ally in case China should get all, there's a term for this, uppity. Sinai Takaichi has taken no quarter in dealing with China and believes in a strong offense. Having good friends is also strong offense. So as long as there's going to be no more USMCA, as long as Japan has already worked out trade deals, what does it matter? You're going to put the money somewhere, take $3.6 billion and put it into the U.S. They're going to double the capacity. They're going to go from 200,000 units to 390,000 units, to 350,000 units a year. This is where they're going to do the Tacoma. They're already doing the Sequoia hybrid. I had no clue. I had no clue that Sequoia even had a hybrid. I own a Sequoia. Oh yeah, 2014. Awesome. I have American-made things. It's awesome. It is what it is. If I could find myself an old school Land Cruiser, I would do that too. Basically, the Sequoia is a Land Cruiser concept, just on a wider base. It's fantastic. Thing's fantastic. It's terrific. This is huge. This is very, very large. But this is as much Japan engaging a little bit of buying friends as it is Trump and tariffs, which really is what he can argue led to doing away with the USMCA, which of course brings us to where we are right now, right? You can track that down. It's a big move. It's a big, good move, and I like every bit of it, and I appreciate people cheering it. It's going to create a couple thousand jobs. How could one be upset by it? Oh, but don't worry, there'll be people who are upset by it. People who are angry by it. One of the other things going on, and I wrestled with how to do this story. When the story of Jared Fogle, that was the Subway guy, and his pedophilia, child porn, I should say, child porn, right? Child porn. I was doing just morning radio at the time, and the case took place in Indianapolis, so it was an everyday story, and I still do morning radio in Indianapolis. And I went to my program director, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do the story. I'm leaving it for the news department. I couldn't talk about two people involved in child porn. I couldn't do it every day. I have no idea how I'm supposed to talk about the trial preliminaries here in the Charlie Kirk case. Because if you saw the judge yesterday, seeing the video, I do not know if it was the first time he saw this. Is the preliminary hearing, and they're, hey, here's the evidence, and here are the charges we want to bring, and can we bring this to trial and everything else. I don't know if the judge had ever seen it before. But the judge watches the video of Charlie Kirk being assassinated, and what you see is the judge there on the bench, sitting in his chair, robes, everything else. He's watching a video screen, right? You see him flinch. You see his body like do that in a recoil because he sees what happens to Charlie Kirk. That can't be good for the defense. And so what's interesting is that the people in the courtroom, which included Erica Kirk yesterday, included Charlie Kirk's parents, they can't see this. They're not seeing it. They can hear it, but they can't see it. And Erica Kirk still left the courtroom. She's like, I can't do this. I can't talk about it. I wasn't married to the man. So it's understandable, Erica Kirk. And now there's never seen before security video. So I've got this right here of the shoot. I don't use names. So you'll never hear me use this scumbag murderer's name right here. So this got shown. And this is video of this it's a parking garage. I'm looking at it for the first time with everybody else in the live stream. So it is a parking garage. It says P1, and then there's a car coming in. I don't know if that is the guy or not. And there's another car backing out. Other cars coming in.
It's approximately 8:30 in the morning on September 10th.
And then, yeah, no, that's that. Okay, fast forwarding a little bit. So they've got this dude parking and then getting out of the car and then just walking. So they were really able to track this dude.
I believe that's Tyler Robinson.
That's what it looks like. Downstairs and doing all these things. And I mean, it is something else. But yeah, we're in the preliminaries here. I don't see any reason why it's not going to trial, and no one's giving me a reason to think that it won't. As far as I can tell, this is going to go to trial. And this parking garage video is him on the campus of Utah Valley University. That's where this all took place. I'll keep you posted on it. I'll do the best I can on it. Someone in the chat room's like, don't call him dude. He doesn't deserve the dude label. I'm trying to keep from using the 4-letter words that keep you thrown off radio. Yeah, I want to stay on radio. I don't want to get thrown off radio. So a little grace on my dude usage, right? But I'll split the difference, and we will just call him scumbag. How's that? I've got a lot to get to. This is Tony Katz today. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Guys, thanks for being here. I do appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Look at that. Everybody's already on it. I love it. Excellent work, Smithers. Can I tell you it's an odd news day? Very odd news day. I'm gonna have to do this to you guys. I'm gonna have to do it. Music in 5. Fantastic then. It's not that I want to go dipping back into the Graham Platner well of disgustingness. It's that some people are broken and disgusting. Of course, I'm talking about The View. Tony Katz today. An absolute pleasure to be with you guys. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com. So we know that Graham Platner has again been credibly accused of sexual impropriety. In this case, what sounds to me like rape is the argument being made. When Jenny, how do I pronounce her last name? Rassicot states that Graham Platner, whom she was on again, off again with, came into her house drunk, broke in. I remember him grabbing my pelvis and being really forceful of me. I remember the specific moment where I thought to myself, like, this is no longer my choice. That sounds like rape. And the New York Times had this story and didn't run this story because they wanted to run the story about Lindsay Fifield so they could say this is a Republican and this is just someone being a political operative making these claims about Graham Platner. Sweet, loving, Nazi tattoo having, fantasizes about raping men who break into his home, Graham Platner. The New York Times is a disgusting organization and they are monsters. Apologize for nothing. And there are people out there still defending Graham Platner. Somebody had asked me in the chat, if you watch there on the live stream, they'd asked me, is Stephen King still defending Graham Platner? We're talking about the author, and the answer is yes, he is. Yes, he is. And then there's The View. Sonny Hostin, take it away.
I was one of those people, and I said it, if I lived in Maine, I would have, plugged my nose and I would have voted for him anyway. I think that we are in a time of existential crisis in this country. I think Republicans fall in line. They don't fall in love. Democrats want to fall in love and not fall in line. The Republican Party, the bar is so very low. I cannot believe that they want to try to assume the moral high ground on the Republican Party. Right. I mean, you can miss me with all that, especially when you have Pete Hegseth, who was confirmed by the Senate in 2025 as the head, as a cabinet member, as the defense secretary, when he had drinking allegations. His sister-in-law submitted a sworn affidavit describing his drinking problem. And in order to get confirmed, he pledged that he wouldn't drink on the job. Number two, he had a tattoo controversy, not one, but two tattoo controversies.
They weren't Nazi tattoos, you freak. They were controversies because you made them controversies. They're not controversial. There was no tattoo controversy. It was we're the liberal media. Let's invent a tattoo controversy. You disgusting, rank liar. His sister-in-law said something? Okay. Multiple women. Credible allegations of sexual assault. Pete Hegseth likes beer. So does Brett Kavanaugh. This is your argument? You don't think we can hold any moral high ground? You have moral high ground, and you're saying that the Nazi is good enough. Can I ask, once you say that, what moral high ground do you think you have? And why, Sonny Hostin, do you actually think you are somehow more pious than us, than we? Why do you do this? Why do you think that you somehow are more decent or more good than us, than we, than the American people? Because you utilize this explanation and go about whataboutism. You could have picked any candidate. You endorsed the Nazi. And when presented with another woman credibly accusing him of sexual impropriety, you say, screw these broads, because you don't give a damn about women. You don't. Invite me on the show. I'll say it to you. You don't give a damn about women, Sonny Hostin. And I don't know why the other women on The View put up with your nonsense. Someone on The View, pretty please, care about women. Why do I, Tony Katz, radio host, care more about women than you do? Why do I care more about women than the 3 women on the Supreme Court? I don't know, but I do. You're defending a Nazi. Just stop. Trump this, Trump that, Trump the other. You are defending a Nazi. And when we talk about the Democrat Party, the only Democrat you could really point to, I should say one in the House, one in the Senate, Richie Torres, John Fetterman. And you know what Democrats do to John Fetterman when he doesn't fall in line? They destroy him. You're not pious, Sonny. You're not good. You support a Nazi. Don't lecture to us. This is Tony Katz today. There's more. Do we want to hear any more of this? I've got some more. I'll play it. Here. Let's.
One was a Deus Vult tattoo, which is used by white nationalist groups. 2, he has a Jerusalem cross tattoo, which has been interpreted as an extremist symbol. And finally, in 2017, a woman claimed he had sexually assaulted her after a conference. She reported that assault immediately. She had a sexual assault examination. And in 2020, and he says it was a consensual encounter. And in 2020, he paid her $50,000 to settle the claim. Yet
why not condemn them all?
Yes,
I condemn them all.
But the Republicans didn't do that.
Gates,
the Republicans confirmed him, and
I'm a Republican right here condemning anyone who's been credibly accused of sexual abuse.
If we are now going to remove the people who've been involved in a payoff, there's going to be no one left in Congress except for Chuck Grassley. That might be the best joke of my life. You know what? Does any of it change the fact that you support a Nazi? By the way, what of that? Hold on. Was Pete Hegseth accused of sexual abuse? Let's see. By a woman who alleged he assaulted her in a hotel room. The accuser told police that Hegseth took her phone, blocked the door to prevent her from leaving, sexually assaulted her while she was intoxicated. No criminal charges were filed against Hegseth following a police investigation, as the Monterey County District Attorney determined that proof beyond a reasonable doubt could not be established. Paid her $50,000 in a settlement to avoid potential litigation. She wants to compare these two things? Knock yourself out. But this is what happens when you're unserious. And she is an unserious woman. Not deserving of respect. Not at all. Yes, everybody I don't like is a Nazi. I believe that's the children's book. Something like that. Grab that right there and let me get this all together for you. Hegseth, I would not believe, did something like that. Here's what I could believe. Could I believe that a younger Pete Hegseth, an unmarried Pete Hegseth, or whatever Pete Hegseth, good-looking guy Pete Hegseth, on TV Pete Hegseth, met a girl, a woman in a bar, had a drink, had 2 drinks, had 3 drinks, went back to her apartment, and bippity-boppity-boo? Yeah, I can absolutely, positively believe that without question. I can believe that. You can believe that. We can all believe that. I got no problem believing that. None whatsoever. It's when they tell me Trump did this and Trump did that. When Trump was a single man in New York, I assumed Trump did everything. What they never talk about is the women who stood online to do it with him and then bragged to their friends about it. Proactive assault? No, I don't buy that either. Three more things, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Guys, so good to be with you. What are three more things? Well, these are things that should be front page news. But because of all the front page news, it is not making the front pages. And of course, we've got President Trump in Turkey. There he's in Ankara for the NATO summit. You still have movement between Russia and Ukraine. Zelensky is there as well, speaking to the world leaders assembled. You have got really no movement in Iran whatsoever. And you have Graham Platner, of course, the Nazi, commie lover, sexual abuser, still being supported by Stephen King and Sonny Hostin. But there are some other stories out there. And this story happened over the weekend, or it was Monday. It's a big story on Monday. And what it is it's Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson on the cover of Essence magazine. And it says, Ketanji Brown Jackson, the people's champion. Man, is there a lot wrong with this? Ketanji Brown Jackson is Supreme Court Justice. Essence magazine celebrating the black justice, never celebrating that I know of, Clarence Thomas. He somehow no celebration for him. The people's champion. That I haven't read the article connected to it. I'm just looking at this headline. I'm staring at this headline. I can't stop looking at this headline and saying this is everything that is wrong with America and with the court, with the left and with the court. She's not supposed to be the people's champion. She's supposed to be the Constitution's champion. She is supposed to say, here is my interpretation of the Constitution. Here's what it says, and here's what it doesn't say. Here's where the case law takes us, and therefore decisions made by the lower court are upheld or remanded back to them based on this new guidance. If Essence magazine is referring to her as the people's champion, Essence magazine is saying that there are decisions to be made based on not the Constitution. And that is not someone who should be on the court. That is not what the court is about. The last thing I want in the world is the people's champion, because to utilize that terminology, have you ever seen the Justice statue? Right? I'm assuming you've seen this before. You've viewed this before. You see Justice holding up the scales in one hand and a sword in another. But the thing that you note here, this I found this right here. This is someone selling one. I'm not selling it. But what you note is that a Lady Justice is blindfolded. Justice is blind. And this is the embodiment of that. If someone is the people's champion, then they have a view. They're peeking under the blindfold. They're putting their thumb on the scale. Now, if at Essence Magazine, you want this, well, I appreciate the honesty, but wow, are you wrong? And horrifying, may I add. Absolutely horrifying that you could want that. I want my justice blind and I want my justice impartial. But I want justice, not fairness. I assume that the people's champion is going to bring me fairness, which means we get a whole bunch of her personality. Tell you the truth, I've heard her talk. I've seen her on stage. I don't think her personality is that great. She doesn't strike me as somebody who I want to hang out with. Ketanji Brown Jackson doesn't strike me as somebody who's cool. So I don't think she can make good decisions based on, how she feels, based on being the people's champion. Oh no, I think that what you'd end up with is very uncool. I also don't think she's good enough. I think the other justices hate her. I think she was indeed a DEI hire. And the first chance there is to impeach her, I only hope the United States House of Representatives takes it. All I'm saying is she's not good. She's proven it. Her decisions, her presentation, her animosity towards other members of the court. This isn't somebody to respect. Then there is the story that I thought was just Trump doing some trolling. I swear to you, I thought the man was trolling. Did you know they're putting a helipad at the White House? I thought that Marine One, that's the helicopter. Air Force One is the airplane. The helicopter's Marine One. I thought it just lands right there on the lawn. You go and you get on the plane. What's wrong with that? According to Newsmax, the president is talking about a helipad. The contractor's been asked to speed up work to be finished ahead of a visit from President Xi Jinping of China. He says, we're building a helipad, beautiful helipad. It's got the seal of the White House on it, in granite, carved granite. It's really a beautiful thing. But it's being built by Sikorsky? It's being built by the helicopter people? Trump's point is that the airflow from the helicopter is so powerful, it rips out the grass. So they're trying to change this around, putting in the helipad, and it's about $5 or $6 million, and they're paying the full cost. Then you have the Washington Post saying it'll actually cost $13 million, which also includes renovations of the south portico and adjacent driveway. Well, that's not a helipad, now is it? Listen, tell the story the way it is. Don't say, well, it's double the cost, and they're doing these other things that might have to, very well get done. Driveways have to get redone. Also, have you taken a look at the cost of redoing your driveway? I did. And then I didn't redo my driveway. Now I know why people do gravel. Holy cow. When I saw the price, it was somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. I don't think my driveway's that big. I don't have one of those houses. I would very much like one of those houses. I'll take the long driveway to the house situated in the rear. I don't need a big house. That's never been it. $30,000 driveway. And I'm like, how does anybody afford anything? But there's the Washington Post trying to double dip the story. As for the helipad, I don't care. doesn't mean anything to me. You need a helipad, you need a helipad. So first the ballroom got the left all fakakta crazy. Then it was the reflecting pool gets everybody crazy. And now it's a helipad. We can't fix anything? Fix things. And same thing as the reflecting pool. You said you got it fixed. I don't want to hear about your problems. Fix it. If someone's tearing up any lining or anything else, throw them in jail for 400 years. Outside of that, fix the reflecting pool. You said you were going to do it. Get it done. Stop complaining about it. Stop telling me about it. Just get it done. That's what I want. And then there is the U.S. men's soccer team. Just disaster last night. Losing 4-1 to Belgium. I will say it as clearly as I can. Belgium may very well have a better team than the United States. But what you saw yesterday was not even the United States team. Timid, afraid, incompetent, incapable. The worst goaltending that Matt Freese may have ever engaged in. If anything could have gone wrong, anything did go wrong. Quite literally, everything went wrong. Brutal. Absolutely brutal to watch that destruction. Oh, awful. Not getting out of the round of 16. If they had lost in the quarterfinals, people would have said made it to the quarterfinals. But even with the round of 32, because they added a round and getting to the round of 16, same story and very frustrating. This team is young. This team is capable. This team is smart. I don't know if they get to keep the coach, Pochettino, or not. I'm going to say no. They can do things. There's something here. But if we want to be a good soccer nation, we got to be more invested in it. And right now, that is not where America seems to be. But there's a lot of love for the sport and a lot of love for this World Cup. And we still have games to go, and I want the U.S. to be a fantastic host. It was brutal. It was brutal and awful to watch from a team that is so much more talented than what they showed. Man, it was rough. What might very well be rougher is when all of your information gets sold to data brokers and then they package it up and they put it on the internet and they then start selling it. And the next thing you know, it's spam this and someone's got your information that, and you're just getting hosed, right? They get your DMV information. Then they're layering on your credit score, right? They're going to layer on shopping habits. They know your social media. There's this digital file that these data brokers have, and they're just selling it. And your rates are going up and you're getting scammed. You need Incogni. INCOGNI. Incogni fights back for you. What Incogni does, incogni.com/cats, KATZ, they contact hundreds of data brokers and they are demanding legally that your information be deleted. So if you find your information out there, you just send the link over to Incogni and they'd work their magic. We're over 400 sites contacted. My information gone from these data brokerages. Incogni handles the takedown. Incogni empowers you to take your data back. Get 60% off by using my last name, Katz, as the promo code. So go to incogni.com/cats. Incogni. INCOGNI. Incogni.com/cats. Get 60% off today. Use promo code CATS. Just that easy to do. Honestly, protect your privacy and that of your family. I don't know what everyone's waiting for. It's not having control of your data, worse than the U.S. men's team played against Belgium. Can't say it enough. Incogni.com/cats. Keep it here. It's Tony Katz today. There we go. Now you have sound. Behold. Excellent. It's not that we are smarter than everybody else. It's that we are more honest. And we may very well be smarter. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. I will get more into this. President Trump's trip to Turkey and the whole conversation about NATO. And you hear about these nations upset with Trump about this and that and the other. It's all garbage. None of it's real. I do not argue about whether or not they like Trump, these other world leaders. They might not, and I'm fine with that. I don't care. You may not like Trump. But when it comes to the philosophy of NATO paying 5% of their GDP to their own defense, no one can argue that that's better. The 2.5% was better. The 5% was better because they were paying zero and saying, hey, the United States will pick up the tab. And then we'll just complain about the US all the time because they're so uncultured. We've got Buc-ee's and Waffle House. We win, you suck. One of the things I discussed in this, and I'll get into, is Greenland. Remember when everybody was so upset about Greenland and how dare you go after Greenland, leave Greenland alone? No. Europe desperately wants the United States to have a play on Greenland because then they would be able to be participatory in Golden Dome. They would get our protection while we were able to get a better look at hypersonics coming our way across the poles from Russia or China. What is the headline over at Newsmax right now? NATO unveils billions in arms deals as Trump again demands Greenland. Of course, all the arms deals in the world don't matter if you can't stop a Russian or Chinese threat. We know this. I'm Tony Katz. Honesty is everything. Everything. We saw this coming 9 bajillion miles away. This was the way it was going to go down. Absolutely. It was the only way it could go down. Just knew it. Called it. That should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark. He said this when with Erdogan. The comments are likely to rattle countries in the NATO alliance. No, that's what they're going to say. They're all going to clutch their pearls and say, harumph, 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 harumph. And then secretly, late at night, they're going to go, thank you, Donnie. This is happening. End of list. And we knew it. We called it. We knew it. It's not the greatest line in film, but it is the one I come back to more often than not. And it's a line from Porky's 2. Now, it's from Searching for Bobby Fischer with Ben Kingsley, Lawrence Fishburne. It's not Bruno Kirby. Joe. Who plays? Hold on a second. I gotta get his name. I think that's the actor. Who plays the mobster in The Simpsons? Joe Mantegna. Is it Mantegna? Right. Okay. I think that's him in Searching for Bobby Fischer. It's the kid, and he's getting trained by Ben Kingsley. And Ben Kingsley keeps saying to him, don't move until you see it. See the whole board. Don't make a move until you see the move. See the whole board. Don't move until you see it. And I once a day, that thought must come into my head. Once a day. I don't know what it was a fine movie. I am still to this day a little wary about bringing up my queen. I mean, I do, but still. That line to me is, if I was somebody who did transcendental meditation, I mean, that would be my phrase. And maybe somewhere in the back of my head, I do. See the whole board. See the whole board. Take a minute. Take a breath. Take a beat. Those of you who are with me on my morning show, you know I do on Thursdays, I do this moment of music. We play music, the TK Thursday music moment. Because the world's crazy. We don't have to be. And like, I'm really convinced that if you follow news 24/7, 365, you'll go crazy. And so you gotta take a breath. It's the same concept. Don't move until you see it. See the whole board is about taking a moment and stepping back from the thing. Am I catching all the pieces? It's imperative, I think. People want to react. They want to be first. I want to be right. I want to be right. Don't you want to be right? When you see the whole board, everything works out when the United States controls some part of Greenland somehow. And knowing the rules of Trumpism, Trump wins is rule number one of Trumpism. Rule number two is a deal can always be made as long as it adheres to the first rule of Trumpism. And rule number three is, what's a deal? Whatever it is that's needed to adhere to rule number one. That's it. Those are the three rules. We just added the third rule, the three rules of Trumpism. Greenland has to be a part of this. This just isn't a question. NATO needs this more than we do. I mean, the facts are just right there. All you have to do is see the whole board. Guys, I appreciate you like you would not believe. I am back tomorrow at noon. The radio show continues at WIBC.com. So you want to go check that out and be a part of that. Can't thank you guys enough. Don't forget to subscribe and like and hit the likes and do all the things. Thank you. It's growing, it's building, it's happening because of you. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I will catch you guys tomorrow. Take care.